And we're live. Right now we have a
There you
very
go.
hello. So
Yeah.
today a lot of people are busy, so it's just going to be me and Hoplu today. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Hoplo. I'm the
Today a
animator who
lot of people are busy, so
procrastinates.
it's just going to be me and Hoplu today.
Oh crap.
Feel
Give me a
free to
second here.
introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Hoplo.
Yeah, I don't know why I was doing that.
What'd you do, you lizard?
Just so I could hear. I just have the stream on my end, and I could hear it, so I had to turn
Oh,
that off.
yeah.
There's always something that you're gonna end up overlooking. So,
Yep.
anyways, we got an interesting show today. We're going to be talking about DefCAD, and there's a new update in regards to the distribution of 3D printed guns and 3D printed files, and whether or not Defense Distributed is allowed to distribute them. We have uh, some interesting updates regarding what's going on in South Africa, and South Africa is raised to become the new Zimbabwe. And
Yep.
finally, we're going to close off with with crap. I forgot what it was.
It's a drama with Russia and Syria and chemicals and
Oh yeah, that's
stuff
right.
again.
Right, yeah. So we'll touch on those later. Let's start with DefCAD. If you recall, in it wasn't August 1st. It was July 20th, I believe, when
Yeah.
DefCAD settled their case with the federal government when they finally realized, like, look, these files are already on the internet, and there's nothing we're going to do to stop them. And yeah, the government finally agreed that words typed on a computer are free speech. So they were
Of
allowed,
course they are.
because of course they are. So they allowed them to put their files back online for free on August 1st. And then the statists just started to absolutely freak out. So they managed to get that postponed to the 10th, and then postponed that to like the 24th, I believe. And now, as of the 28th, something new has developed in that a judge, I don't have their name, has ruled that they're not allowed to put speech that they wrote, that they developed, and they made onto their own platform, onto their own website. But they are able to put it up for sale. So it's perfectly okay to say what you want, just as long as you make a profit off of it.
Oh my goodness, that's gonna. I hope that gives them sort of a war chest for getting that turned over so that they can actually distribute them for free. But even if they can't, they're obviously gonna just encourage piracy and the like.
I mean, it's already too late for that because all these files are already available for
Exactly.
free. I mean, you can just
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure if you didn't spend enough time on DuckDuckGo, never use Google, you could find
Don't.
it. I mean, I linked it
You
in
have
my
no excuse not to use an alternative search engine or alternative browser. Like you can make an argument about how on social media there's not enough people, but it doesn't matter if it's searching or browsing.
yeah.
That's all on you, and it's all on you for not getting on there. So quit Google Chrome and get on.
Brave.
Not. Yeah. Well, I use Vivaldi as an alternative for Chrome, but anyways,
Yeah.
guns.
I totally not a grill. I like what he said in the comments. It's free speech unless it's free. Yeah, I'm sure if you went far enough, if you digged like maybe 5 minutes, I haven't tried this myself, but you can probably find a free version of the 3D printed file. And I already downloaded some of these guns, so it's too late.
Yeah.
You can't stop it. It's too late, and this file can be duplicated endlessly. It's just some,
Yeah.
it's just computer code. There's nothing complicated about it. I even saw a version of Twitter where someone converted the computer code into a JPEG, and it's just like this
I think the
massive.
compression about destroys that though.
Probably, but I
but I'm
remember
not sure.
it was like some sort of conversion thing. It might not have been
Yeah,
a
I know what you're
JPEG,
talking
but
about.
it converts into like this pile of pixelated puke. That if
Yep.
you can get that converted back into a CAD file, or I forget what the actual file format is called specifically, but you can
Yep.
basically have that on your computer and no one would know what it is.
Yep.
They probably just see it as pixelated
But
puke.
what makes me laugh a bit is how the left and the grabbers like to scream, "Oh well, the Second Amendment, that was all about muskets and flintlocks and none of this modern stuff." Well, here comes along a gun that's actually worse than those things, and the grabbers just collectively lose their minds. Like
Oh
obviously,
yeah,
I do see it getting. I do see it getting better in the future. Obviously, I'm excited for that. But that's just.
Oh man.
Oh hey, Azer.
oh hey, Azure
Fucking
came.
finally I am home.
Yeah,
But I still have to clean up dog piss, so I'm gonna need another
yeah.
moment.
Oh, I know how
So
that feels.
I hope you've been following what we've been saying so far.
I think he's gone.
Did he leave again? Hello.
Well, not the hangout, but I think he's away from his keyboard.
All right. Well, anyways, there's something I want to show on stream, and that is just how absolutely freaking easy it is to get a 3D printed gun. Like, although they
Yeah.
are required now by law to put them up for sale, here's how you do it. So you just go onto DefCAD's website, defcad.com. You look through their selection. Oh, look, there's a Liberator. There's a few other things like the receiver for several guns, the Beretta 92 FS if you want that, and oh look, it's the AR-15. That's gonna really drive a lot of liberals mad. And so you
Okay,
just
what are we talking about? Just to get me up to speed.
We're talking about 3D printed guns right now.
yeah.
Or
Oh,
DefCAD in
because
specific, how apparently they're only allowed to put their stuff on there if they make you pay for it.
with the Second
And
Amendment was only meant
that's
for sawed-off
hilarious.
shitty guns.
Yeah. So
How much
anyways, yeah,
does
it's just
that cost, though?
so anyways, yeah, you just go onto the
Like
website.
how much do you need to purchase it?
We're getting to that. So we're just you go onto their website, you pick out the gun you want. I'm going to download the AR-15 because I can. You click purchase, and it takes you to this screen. AR-15 suggested price, but look at this. It says name your price. I delete everything,
Uh-oh.
and I want to pay 1 cent. Add to cart. Let's just click add to cart because I can. AR-15 has been
Yeah.
added to my cart. Check out. I should probably actually close the tab here because I might accidentally auto-load some of my personal information.
Yeah, I was about to say.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of like a tweet that I saw from some like gun grabber. He said it's disgusting that someone could buy a weapon like this for like $670 on Amazon. I forgot which weapon it was. It looked like something like an AR-15, or at least the size. And I'm just thinking, I feel like this dude is forgetting about the existence of bullets. You still have to buy those. Don't
Well,
you
Well,
what's
I
an
think
what's
Cody has done some things on how easy it is to make bullets, but I don't know. Like
is
it
this
you just need a bit of stuff you can get from Walmart and your piss, and that's about it.
also what is his problem that it costs 670? So would it be okay if it was $671? I don't understand. Like, at what point is at what
Is it
point is the
not
price of a gun acceptable to him?
like 670? That's still kind of pricey, especially before accounting bullets. And like you don't even know like how many bullets it holds, or like you still have to like you can only buy a certain number of bullets like depending on the state, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like of course there's that limit.
hmm
And then
Well-
you still, of course, need to build, like, I'm pretty sure you still have to have, like, a gun license to even buy the thing. Like, it's very surface level, like, criticism. Like, it's more than just 670.
Well, I know, like in New York City, and New York City being an extreme example, but it works. Where I mean, you're not prevented from buying guns. You just need to do all these permits, tests, go to classrooms, and pay a whole bunch of fees. And
It's
the whole
basically a de facto barrier.
yeah, it's around 6 months and costs $100,000. And even
Yeah,
then,
so
like at the very
basically,
end,
if a
the government can
basically if
the
a
government can
woman
refuse to
who
excuse
broke
me for a
up with
second
her,
here.
hold on.
Excuse me for
Oh,
a second
God.
here. So the at the end, after you paid your $100,000, and that's not a deposit, by the way. You're not getting that money back, and you're not getting that time back either. The government can just refuse to give you the license for any reason.
Yep.
Kind of have to be a connected. You have to like know Mike Bloomberg personally to be able to get one, or be his bodyguard.
Also, what's to stop you from, like, going to your local gas station, fill up a little canister, pour it around your neighbor's house, and then light it on fire? I mean, it's a
It's
lot
against.
cheaper. And
Well, you don't understand. You see, it's against the law, and the law is a
the law,
magical force field that prevents anyone from ever doing anything bad. Which really begs the question, if certain gun laws are going to automatically stop people from using guns to hurt others, shouldn't we just make murder illegal?
Ooh, that's an amazing idea. How hasn't anyone thought of that before?
I know, it's weird.
There's something that I just thought of. I remember there's like this post online where it was that if you make abortions illegal, abortions will stop. And then some guy was like, if you make guns illegal,
Oh
then it
boy,
will,
I've seen that.
then it won't like stop. Or like no, it was if you ban abortions, abortions won't stop. And then some guy was like, if you ban guns, shootings won't stop. And some guy was like, of course it will.
It's different. It's different, you guys.
A definition of lacking self-awareness. That's the short and simple of it. Like, fuck that site.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta laugh at these people. They think that they can
Yep.
stop people from like just duplicating code endlessly. I hear a
Yep.
lot of observations about how it's like we are where the music pirating or pirating music was a decade ago. But the government is trying desperately to stop people from sharing music, throwing out all sorts of propaganda to stop people from downloading and copying a file.
You know,
Honestly, digital purchase is a lesser way to pay for something than, say, a direct donation or purchasing physical merchandise.
you know, I just realized.
What
did you just realize?
I should just make a picture of like. First, I just need a screenshot of like an article talking about how they're stopping the download and like distribution of like those liberated codes, and then right at the bottom, I'm just going to show like a screenshot of that scene from Sonic Colors, where Sonic's like, "No copyright law in the universe is going to stop me."
what could possibly go wrong?
You want to know how
But
many?
don't you dare forget about my drawing.
No, I don't think anyone
children
ever will.
change my mind on guns? All the kids.
How many kids will it take? How many crying crisis actors do we need before? Oh, I said crisis actors.
I still can't believe there was when they found the compound in Mexico of like people training kids to become school shooters. They're like Gonzalez and the Mr.
David Hogg.
David Ligma Hogg. We're just silent on it. I'm just like, yeah.
And there I was playing Madden.
And there I was playing Fortnite.
I think hasn't David Hogg been a victim of every school shooting that's ever happened in the last 20 years?
Dude,
Yeah,
he
was in Columbine. He was in Virginia Tech.
He was in Fort Hood too.
Oh, he was in the
Oh yeah,
Michigan
he
like
was.
shooting in
He
1921.
was in Boston during the
Oh, wait, that wasn't a
massacre.
shooting.
Well, that was done with the bomb,
Yeah,
and
that wasn't a shooting. What am I saying? Yeah, it was made with a fertilizer bomb. A fucking fertilizer bomb in the 1920s, and that killed just
Yeah.
about as many people as the Las Vegas shooting did.
I think the
was
Oklahoma
less.
City bombing was done with a fertilizer bomb.
Oh yeah, let's not forget Timothy McVeigh in the Oklahoma like
Yeah,
federal
he was
building bombing,
he was
where
in
he killed
the
like 150 people with just like a car bomb.
and he I think David Ligma was in there too. Oh, and let's not forget, like, was he hiding in the closet? Was he staying at home, or was he in his econ class when
He
that
was in the
happened?
van. He was in the van that bombed the building.
I see. But he was also riding on his bicycle to get to the van after it blew up. The same van that he was already inside. You see,
He was also in the Jacksonville shooting.
oh, that's true.
Oh,
Oh, well, what about the Charlottesville attack? I'm referring to the one where
He was the one driving the
that
Dodge
racist
Charger.
kid shot up the church.
oh yeah, he was in that too.
Yeah, I mean
David,
he gets around.
Oh
David
yeah.
Hogg is the one that's like shooting, who drove like into that crowd of people with his Dodge Challenger.
Oh my god. Oh, are we gonna get deleted? All of us.
Oh, it's going to be absolutely magnificent. But
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
also it's worth noting that David Hogg has the preternatural ability to be in 3 places at once.
Yep.
And no one's entirely sure he was able to pull this off. But the very idea that's like, we already established that gun control, or Cody Wilson has made gun control like absolutely impossible. And even if
Yep.
it costs a cent, people are still going to find a way to pirate it, which is completely just as planned. They couldn't.
Yep.
The same vehicle,
Oh,
that has made
I just had a
copyright
very
laws.
hold on. I just had a very chilling thought.
What?
3D printed
What
cars.
if they're
3D printed
using
trucks.
the purchases as a means to track people who purchase and download those files?
Oh crap! I mean that information would have to go through your credit card company or your
Yeah.
bank, which is almost
Yeah.
certainly being tracked by the federal government. So yeah, that's actually a really good point. So everybody, listen very closely. Do not pay a cent
Yeah.
for those files. Look for them online, and for God's sake, turn on a VPN when you download it.
Yeah. I go, oh boy, that was just one of those. Uh-oh, now I see.
Are men caps capitalist? No.
No. Well, I mean,
They're
I
as
guess they
close as
can
they
be.
could be, but
Minarchists are not minarchists by definition.
There's no. Are we using the no true minarchist fallacy here?
No, I'm using the fact that there's no such thing as a minarchist. Sorry, kid, but
I can just like hear Chudel Tom just like yelling like very quietly off in the distance.
What's he saying?
I can't tell. Hapu, can you hear it?
No. I think he's continuously trying to ruin the image of the atom, though. So. Oh, there. Well-known member knows what he's saying.
Oh wait, no, that's not Chudel Tom. That's Shane Killian yelling liar.
Oh.
Liar!
Liar! Liar! Liar! Liar!
Atheist terrorists don't exist.
You know, Farmer wants me to do a collab with Shane like so badly because of our voices and how well they would go together.
Oh yeah.
You know who I really want to do a collab with, but I know will absolutely never happen?
Ash?
No. A radio talk show host, Mark Levin.
Ooh.
If you heard his voice, you would understand.
Well, why don't you just ask him?
Because he's a big government, or not a big government. He's a conservative. He's a conservative statist. Yeah.
You mean just a conservative?
Yeah, pretty much just a conservative.
You know, we should just like go on like Tom Hartman's show like one after another, and just like yell "liar, liar" in Shane Killian's voice.
I was actually planning on doing something where I call in and I pretend to have like a real a conversation, like I'm someone who, like a former libertarian who got turned into a, I
And
don't
then
know,
you
a
just
liberal.
spew out straw men.
I don't just I might spew out straw men, but at the end I'm just like I just say something incredibly racist on air.
Did That
Ooh.
kid just seriously ask what is capitalism?
Yeah,
No.
I think he's trying to ask that in terms of like what's our definition of capitalism.
It
So-
is the private,
A
or is,
political
it
and
is the
economic system.
ownership of private property and free exchange of it.
Capitalism is what happens when you have exchange of private property
Yeah.
As
or free
opposed to
exchange
the
of
state.
property.
Anyways, don't let the banks track you and use a VPN, and don't use Google Chrome ever. You
I
have
actually
no
happen
excuse.
I actually happen to have some insight in regards to banking. It's one of the most, even though it's
Typical
fairly
Jew.
even yeah, sorry. It's even though it's one of the most heavily regulated industries in America, and most people do not realize that. Like
Which one?
oftentimes, like regulators will just come into a bank and just require them to comply with regulations that aren't even on the book, but
Yep.
they just want to see what the effects are.
Oh crap!
So it's
It's a cartel.
basically, and like it's so heavily regulated that employees aren't allowed to piss without a regulator telling them where, when, and in what direction.
You know, sometimes I do wish that EA or video games were regulated, just so when EA puts a loot box in their game, the government just busts in through their like headquarters with like guns to the developers' heads, yelling, "No, you gotta program those loot boxes out. Think of the fucking children. They want to become gambling addicts."
But I have 5 kids. Don't kill me. Think of the children.
Do you mean go to the house and shoot guns to
Anyways,
their heads too? They
Yeah.
shouldn't be playing.
on to the topic of next.
Yeah. So I think I can just jump right into the next topic, which is in regards to South
We're
Africa.
starting to talk about South Africa.
Technically,
Okay, that was perfect.
technically,
Yeah.
yeah, this guy said most ANCAPs define it when all association is voluntary. That's agorism.
I think
Yeah,
that's voluntarism.
Yeah, that's
Why did I say
voluntarism.
agorism?
Agorism is agorism is what happens when the counter economy becomes larger than the fiat economy.
Oh.
Or at the very least, it's the support of black and gray markets as a tool for achieving anarchism. I think that's a better definition,
Okay.
because otherwise you just have the problem of no true agorists.
There's the rains down in Africa. Can someone just play like
But anyways,
can someone just play that song but like where it's like off key the entire time?
I'd rather not. So, anyways, what are your guys' awareness of what's going on in South Africa?
It just
I'm
sucks.
aware of the fact that it's turning into Zimbabwe yet again, as well as the fact that this bullshit about whites, quote unquote, stealing that land is actually not true, considering that the native black population is actually not native, and the and Dutch settlers got there before the Bantu tribe did.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, it's like when the Boers got there, it was mostly empty land. And it was mostly empty
Exactly.
land because it was too arid for agriculture.
Yeah.
And the only reason that you could even farm there is because of the irrigation systems that the Dutch basically brought with them and in some parts invented.
Yeah.
So yeah, the only reason that there is a South Africa at all is because the Dutch was just like, hey, you know what? Let's put a country here.
Yep.
And
It's
in fact,
almost as if colonialism isn't this evil, evil, evil thing that the left likes to say it is.
oh, that's weird. And
Why
but that would mean that towards the end of apartheid and before that, that the living standards, basic income, and life expectancy of the not native black people was increasing. No, that couldn't be true. No, wait, oh wait, yeah, it is.
No, everything wrong with Africa is because of white people colonializing. No, everything. White people are everything wrong with Africa. It's not the fact that decolonialization has led to the rise of a lot of socialist regimes and a lot of barbaric and even downright savage cultures taking over. No, it's all because of white people. It's all our fault.
Well,
You
you
know what
guys,
to say?
I'm
You know
assuming
the
you guys
saying.
are familiar with the premise of Black Panther, where
Yes.
the deposit of a very extremely powerful natural resource allows an African nation to basically develop into a hyper advanced near space age civilization.
Even though
Afrofuturism,
that's
you
kind
mean?
of impossible due to the fact that if you can't trade that shit away, you'll never be able to get the wealth and capital to do that. But it's a comics. It's a
You
comic,
know,
so who cares?
Forget about that. Just consider that Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa, has some of the uh,
Oh yeah,
richest natural resource deposits in the
in
world
the world.
with mineral wealth that's like beyond which we could possibly imagine, and
Yep.
the soil is so fertile that if you spat a watermelon seed, you could probably get a patch going like instantly.
Yep. Like, this is the thing that's really funny, how a lot of these socialistic regimes, which are on top of the some of the most fertile and rich places on Earth, be it Africa or South America, always do worse compared to the relatively barren Europe and relatively, and not as barren, but still not as naturally rich America or North
well,
America.
I mean, there's been black people in Africa forever, and
Yeah.
colonialism's been gone for a while. So where's Wakanda? Where is it?
Exactly.
Where's your rich, prosperous, near space age civilization in Africa?
Yeah.
If you
and
want to
I'm
say
kind
like
of
it's got some
sorry that
super
we had to
advanced
have
cloaking
this
field that
discussion.
we can't see it, then we can't even presume that it exists, can we? It's effectively
Yeah.
worthless.
But
I find it interesting
it
that
is
Kid says that.
insulting and just flat out horrible to see people denying the flat out genocide that's going on in South Africa.
Well, the reason that they're denying it is because it's largely in their interest to. I
Oh
mean, they
yeah.
can't. I mean, everything that they do, they being the quote unquote left. I hate
The
using that
powers
term.
that be.
The powers that be. It's in their interest too because they get money off of it. Everything they
Yep.
do is motivated entirely by one thing and one thing only: the acquisition of power.
Yep.
I remember
That's
being
everything. That's the thing about the state. I'm. This is sort of a skeleton philosophy, but I've developed sort of a hierarchy of needs for the state. Number one is that the state must exist. Number two is that the state must maintain its order, what it has. And number three is that the state must expand.
If
yeah. I've
you're
actually
white,
been
you can't
thinking.
be right.
I've been thinking about the way that the government expands, and I think I've come up with a pretty interesting idea. So imagine you have this is probably going to be a little sidetrack off the topic, but I think it's still interesting. So imagine you have a society of 100 people. No, let's make it
Yeah.
a society of 20 people, and they pick someone to be their king. And so, in order to keep everybody in line and make sure they're following the laws, the king can pretty much do all that stuff himself because it's 20
Yeah.
people. It's 20 or 19 people. It's not too difficult. Now, if we expand that to 100 people, now the king has to hire police people to
Yeah.
watch 20 people. So now that's 5 people that he's got to keep an eye on. And now if we
Like there's
expand,
this there's a video from CCP Gray called "The Rules for Rulers," and that's like, oh yeah, this kind of organization will never be in the interests of the people.
never.
Never.
Now here's where things get interesting. When you have 5 people watching over 20 people each, so it's 100 total people, and the king watching over the 5 police people. But then, like as you
Yeah.
expand the population, you get 1,000 people,
Now
and
you're gonna need bureaucrats.
now you have 50 police officers, so you need people above those 50 police officers to keep an eye on them, And as a
Exactly.
result, like as your population grows, you basically have exponential bureaucratic growth, where you have people watching
Exactly.
people, watching people, watching people, watching people, and
Yep.
you're, at some point, like it's just going to become it's your efficiency. This isn't even like complicated or unknown. This is just diminishing returns. It's a basic economic concept where at
Yep.
some point, like the amount that you're getting out of it is going to be less than what you're putting in.
Yep.
And that's just going to be the nature of the state, where in order to watch the people who watch the people who watch the people who watch the people who watch the people, you're gonna eventually it's not gonna work. It's that simple.
Nope. Yep.
Yeah. So, anyways, what I wanted to talk about is let me just pull it up on the wrong tab. What I wanted to see is South Africa has apparently withdrawn its law that they passed in 2016, which required land expropriation.
Uh-oh.
Oh yes, you can see where this is going, right?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, it's it's going to be pretty fun. So what's happened is that as a result, for unspecified reasons, or maybe I just haven't looked very far in the article, they decided as of August 28th to repeal that law completely, or rather withdraw the bill. I don't know why it says withdraw the bill, because it says the bill was passed in 2016.
Yeah.
Probably to cause confusion because it's Reuters, which means they have a bias.
Yep.
But anyways, yeah. So what the law required is that in order to solve some kind of racial injustice in land distribution, the South African government
Fuck your
could basically
injustice in fuck your land distribution. It's there for a reason.
Mhm. And so they can just take it and just try to
Mhm.
give the land back. Now, if I recall correctly, what makes this very interesting is that the what is it? The black people who are getting the land back, they don't want the land. They just want
No.
they just want the money.
you mean the basketball
Yep.
Africans?
The they're best. No, I mean we prefer them as basketball Americans when they're America when they're American. But yeah, like the majority of them like don't want to farm. They don't want to build a house. They don't want to live anywhere. They just want free money. That's all this is to
Yep.
them.
You mean all the black people? Is that what you're saying in Africa?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Gandhi was probably onto something.
What did you say?
Didn't? What did I say?
Yeah,
What did he? I said, well, maybe Gandhi was onto something
in regards to what?
to
The
black
fact
people.
that
Because didn't he say
nuclear
something about?
holocaust is the best way to get a domination victory.
Probably.
Because I thought like Gandhi said something about like black people being lazy or something.
I know Che Guevara did.
Oh yeah, I remember when my Spanish teacher was a Che Guevara supporter.
Ew.
Yeesh.
I don't suppose she was Cuban, was she?
No, she was Spanish.
Well, that
Of
explains it.
course.
I remember having I remember there was a history teacher at my high school. Not my history teacher, but there was like one next door to my history class who did have a Che Guevara poster. I only
Yeah.
know this because like we were in this classroom for like one day. And we weren't really doing anything, but you know, it was there, and I was bored, so I looked around. It's like, ugh. Even as a conservative, I knew that the guy was just an abject monster.
Yep.
If I ever become a teacher for high school, I just every single morning, like when the first class, like first history class starts, I'm just going to open their door and yell, "Taxation is extortion." Close the door and then just move on to my class.
You know that they're gonna fire you. They would fire you, right? Like almost immediately. You would kind of have to get tenure before you even think about doing that. In which
If I,
case, you basically
Yep.
have 3 years of you keeping your mouth shut, surrounded by the most abject, insane statists you could possibly imagine.
hey, if I
Oh
didn't
my
work there
goodness,
anymore,
teachers'
there,
unions are just
Teachers, teachers' unions are a plague.
that they are. That they are.
Well, I mean,
I
like
might not even do
everything the
that. I'm
government
just
touches is a
aiming
plague.
to get a college degree.
Oh yeah.
And if it's like, I'm probably not going to do it, I'll still have something.
And you're going for a teaching degree?
A teaching certificate, but I'm going for a bachelor's in English.
Okay, well, bachelor's in English I think
Uh,
will probably at least be
it's
pretty useful.
something.
Yeah, but the teaching, I would be very cautious about that because I see stories all the time about how like teachers, like the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed ones who actually want to help students, and those exist, mind you, even though the
Yeah.
institution, the Prussian model, is absolutely horrendous. There are a lot of teachers who genuinely want to teach kids and educate them for better or for worse. Like a lot of them are just
Yeah.
like, I can't do this because the culture is just too toxic.
When you're a good
Yep.
teacher entering the workforce, then it's like this good apple amongst all these bad apples.
Yeah, I mean, like the only there you have like teachers who are absolutely terrible being just completely insulated. I remember reading a story once of a teacher in LA who had a student return from the hospital after attempting to kill themselves by slitting their wrists. It didn't work,
Ooh.
and the student got back to class, and so the teacher like just had the students show off their scars on their wrists,
Why?
and then just mocked them or her. I don't remember what the gender of the
How
student was,
dare you?
and
I
she
actually
was just
remember
like
there was
you,
a
and she was just
classmate
like
who,
mocking them for not being able to finish up. And it's
jeez,
How
and,
dare you?
and then you have examples. I believe there was like one teacher specifically in New York City who was an actual molester, like actually molested girls, and
oh my goodness.
he was like, there's something called the rubber room, where if you're under investigation, you're not allowed to teach, but you continue getting a paycheck. And because paychecks are based on seniority rather than merit, this teacher in particular was earning six figures for doing nothing. And they were an accused child molester.
My goodness.
Yeah, so the modern education
So
system
we
is
are
Hoplu, say it.
a plague.
Perfect.
What's also a plague is the fact that we are light years off topic.
That's fine. These things happen.
If I
That is true.
Man, I had a classmate who was transgender, who didn't actually transition, like in 12th grade, and there's a substitute in, who didn't know her like nickname. I forgot what it was, but when she called her by her like actual name, she got pissed off and say, "Don't use my birth name." And I'm just thinking, if I were a teacher, I'm just gonna be like, "Yeah, whatever." Like
Yeah.
just literally just say that, just be like, "Yeah, whatever."
What I heard
Well,
is that they call them "quote unquote" dead names in Tumblrite circles.
Oh yeah, that happened in the speedrunning community as well, like with the recent SGDQ, or
oh,
instead of
dead
saying
names?
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
yeah, it's like their old name, like in the speedrunning community, there was a guy named Cosmo who's now Narcissa, right? And like one of the speedrunners during like SGDQ accidentally referred to Narcissa Wright as Cosmo, and a bunch of people got pissed off and
What
claimed that he was dead naming them
what was the name they preferred again?
Narcissa Wright.
Narcissa, right?
Yes, like a W, like you know that type of right, like Phoenix
Narcissa
Wright.
White. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna. I'm
but
just
the
gonna go with
person is
Cosmo.
white. Yeah, it's better that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's gone downhill.
Anyways, I think our time on South Africa is about up now.
Yeah. So our last
So,
topic is going to be about Syria. I'm sure you guys remember Syria. You know that place on a map that nobody in a government school can possibly find, even if there's
Oh
an arrow
boy.
pointing to it because they don't teach what arrows are. So yeah, so what's going on in Syria? I'm sure you're aware that there's a civil war going on, largely instigated by the U.S. and NATO allies to try to get Assad overthrown because U.S. and Turkey want to have a natural gas pipeline going through and into Europe, whereas
yep.
the Syrian government and the Russian government already made a deal to have a similar pipeline also going through Syria. So this whole conflict is largely over two differing world powers wanting to
Wanting a
build a
gas
gas pipeline. Yeah, so
which has killed a shit ton of people.
unnecessarily,
Yep.
and more importantly, like it's effectively a proxy war, similar to the Cold War.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's just an absolute mess. However, the U.S.-backed rebels have been on the retreat for several years now. Excuse me for a second here.
Azer, what in the fuck was that?
What are you talking about?
What is that sound?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What is that sound?
Yeah,
Okay, I heard you
I'm
the
hearing a
first time.
buzzing
It's
sound. Like
it's this.
What is that?
Yes, what is it?
I just looked up a distorted bass sound effect online and just like blasted it through the mic.
Why?
Just
What?
why not?
Why?
Ah,
Hey, it'll boost the views. Oh, we already
ah.
have 20.
Down from 22. Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Now we have 21.
Ryan Coyne wants to know, what is Aleppo?
well, you can say I made a good contribution.
Oh.
So I
Captain
don't know.
It's his vibrator.
Well, I don't
No,
know
it's,
why
You
we
know,
asked Gary
I
Johnson.
would be not surprised if that turned out to be absolutely the case.
No, it's the sound effect
You
from the
monster.
Battlefield 3
It's a
theme
sound
song.
effect from your vibrator.
You know, like how at the end of the song it's like da da da. I can't do the sound effect.
Yeah. So, anyways, back to what I was saying about Aleppo. Not Aleppo.
Where'd Filthy
Syria.
go?
Aleppo is a city
He
inside the
has
country of
gone
Syria.
to. I think he's gone to consult his lizard friends.
I think you
Yeah,
have to
pretty
change
much. I need to.
dimensions.
I need to make I need to consult with several Illuminati defectors.
Because if we were talking about Syria.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Right now, the Illuminati is trying to get Assad overthrown, and right now they're really sucking at it. It's gotten so bad for the Illuminati that the Al
Sometimes I just
Qaeda.
wonder, why is the Middle East always fucked up all the time?
Islam.
Well, there are a few reasons. One
Islam.
reason is Islam. One reason is neocons. Another reason is Islam government. There are a good few reasons.
Well, Islam is statism, so
Anarcho-Illuminati.
yeah. Well, anyways, what was I saying
How do I
about
change my sister who already doesn't like the government to become an ANCAP who believes in the net? What?
So
Well, how do you not change your sister who already doesn't like government to become an ANCAP who believes in the NAP? That's easy.
Just give him 6 months.
well, it might be a situation where it doesn't like the
I'll
government,
reduce that
but
6
just
months
things
to
like
10 seconds.
we just it probably just a question
Like
of
it turns out they're like
we
an
just need to vote for the
Antifa
right
member, and so
people.
like the best way to get them to change their mind is just present to them a huge trash can, not like a simple trash can that they kick over, but like those giant dumpsters.
Yep.
That'll sure get them scared.
I wonder how many.
I'll
I've always wondered how many trash
all.
cans Antifa is away from overthrowing the
That would
government.
honestly do fuck all to that. Yeah, the nap isn't a
Yeah.
belief. It's just basically a way of like being able to prove someone that, hey, you objectively wronged me in some sort of way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's not a belief, it's a principle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how it's in the name, non-aggression principle.
Yep.
So, anyways,
Like you
as
don't
I was
believe it
saying
like
about
in
the
some sort of
let's
religion,
get
because
back
like
to
with a
let's get back on
religion,
topic.
like you believe in a deity that has
Can we get back on
Religion is
topic?
based on
supernatural
faith.
powers.
Principles are based on logic.
Let's get back on topic.
Not logic in the skeptical sense, but
Can anyone
logic
hear
in
me?
the Aristotelian
Can anyone hear
reason
me?
sense.
Oh, okay. This is why I turned off my mic.
Ow!
I was wondering why you guys couldn't hear me.
Ow!
Yeah.
So you were trying to talk the entire time?
Yes.
Well, I'm glad I did not shit talk you well like I was planning to.
Did you hear the sound that blasted through my mic?
Huh.
Did you hear that part?
Do not do
yes,
it
I did.
again.
Yes, I did.
Oh, I'm too bad you weren't.
I was remarking that it totally is your vibrator. I like totally not a girl's idea. Let's invade Congress and overthrow it from the inside. But anyways, let's get back on topic regarding Syria.
So we're
So I'm pretty sure everyone on the stream actually did hear everything I said, even though you guys didn't. But just for your sake, I'm going to repeat myself. So basically, the Illuminati has been trying to overthrow the Assad government, and right now they've been doing a really terrible job at it because their Al Qaeda allies have just been completely getting curb stomped after curb stomp after curb stomp, as Russia has taken an active role supporting their ally. And
that's
nowadays,
that's why all of a sudden Assad is suddenly accused of attacking chemically his citizens, even though he's winning the war.
yep. And
And
now
things
Russia
are going good for him.
And now Russia is extremely concerned that that chemical provocation could happen again, as apparently they have some forms of intelligence that there are 8 canisters of chlorine gas, which, if you aren't aware, breathing in chlorine gas really, really sucks.
Yeah, it's like a death sentence.
It's
Yeah,
like
so
breathing in like a bunch of glass dust particles.
Yeah.
I don't know what that feels like, but I would imagine it would suck.
I've read some of the symptoms a while ago about like what happens when you breathe in chlorine gas, and it's like it sucks.
like melt.
But anyways, like what Russia is concerned about happening is what has happened the last 2 Aprils, where U.S.-backed rebels in the white helmets, who are, by the way, funded by the State Department,
Yep.
they'll come off with they'll pretend that chemical attacks were committed, and
Yep.
that will be a justification for U.S. involvement, U.S. airstrikes against the Syrian government for violating this imaginary line.
Yep.
And so basically the white helmets and the Al Qaeda can basically use the U.S. as their air force. All they have to do is just pretend. All they have to do is just get a bunch of really hysterical people to usher some children into a clinic, scare the doctors into hosing them down, have cameras rolling, and then just like walk away.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you can get as many airstrikes on government and Russian positions as you need.
More like as you damn want.
Yeah, but more importantly, like what's going on is that John Bolton, U.S. National Security Advisor, has warned Assad not to use chemical weapons because that'll be really bad. I mean, of course it would be really bad. Assad is the one who has the most to lose by using chemical weapons. He has them contained. They're like there's like one stronghold left. Like they're all in one place. All they have to do is just lay a siege instead of perimeter around the damn city and they'll win.
Yep.
There's no reason to use chemical weapons, like at all.
No.
But we already know what's going to happen. The White Helmets are going to say there's like some great humanitarian crisis, and John Bolton's going to be like, "Oh, that's really bad. How dare they?" And of course,
now it'll be an even bigger humanitarian crisis.
Yep, and which will prompt a
going to war with them.
It'll prompt a response.
I don't understand this from neocons.
Well, the whole point of the neocon system is that, well, they're basically puppets of the Illuminati who want the New World Order, and it goes without saying that the
military-industrial complex.
Pretty much. So the
as well as the petrodollar.
Well, it's the whole, all of U.S. foreign policy is basically built around preserving the petrodollar.
Oh yeah.
Which, I mean, kind of says a lot about the fragility of the petrodollar and the psychopathy of the neocons and the military-industrial complex, that the lives of millions of people,
as well as Wilsonian crap,
of course. But the
I'm gonna be honest. Wilson is like my least favorite president in the universe, because he's He's the reason why we're in such terrible shit today. He's the reason why communists arose in Russia, why fascists in Germany, and progressives and neocons over here in the West.
Oh yeah, Woodrow Wilson was the worst.
Yep. And is not to mention probably the closest thing the States has ever gotten to a dictator. Unless you count like Lincoln.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of conservatives or anarchists who are probably still sympathetic to Abraham Lincoln. Who probably just be like, "Oh no, Abraham Lincoln wasn't that bad." So yeah, just try to be careful, or maybe don't. I don't really care.
Yeah.
But yeah, he not only suspended habeas corpus, but he suspended the First Amendment. He jailed journalists who dissented, and even ran concentration camps that were strikingly similar to ones that would be used in Nazi Germany. In fact,
he also
you'd be
didn't free
surprised.
the slaves either.
No,
he
he
wanted to deport the freed slaves.
Yeah, but anyways, let's get back to the let's get
Syria.
back to Syria.
Syria.
Oh my god, Syria.
So I think
Syria law.
Sriracha?
So what we can expect from Russia and Syria in a little bit. I don't know if it's like any false flag attacks that might have been in the works have been called off because now Russia is onto them. But I can completely imagine next April even, assuming that the Syrian rebels haven't been just completely obliterated and peace has finally come back to Syria, there won't be some chemical attack or some false flag chemical attack. Although it really begs the question, let's suppose just hypothetically that Assad did or does use chemical weapons in the future, and then he just lies and says that he didn't. I mean, who would believe that he did?
Exactly.
You're kind of putting yourself in a position where like you're not really credible. It's going to be the boy who cries wolf. You cried chemical weapons twice, and now we're just like, we didn't even believe you the first time. What makes you think we're going to believe you a third time? And I think that
Fool me once.
Well, we didn't get fooled. We didn't even get fooled once. Come on.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you get fooled once?
No.
Okay, good. Yeah. So we maintain a healthy enough amount of
I
skepticism.
was never an interventionist for a minute in my life. I'm prideful of that. I was a guns and weed guy, but I was never a fucking neocon.
Well, consider yourself fortunate then.
Yeah. Why is it that like when the chemical weapons attack, like you would think progressives and collectivists would be like, yeah, no, that's a false flag, but no, they were just like, yeah, boy. Like
yeah, that's the thing that's interesting. How apparently,
like, how do they
when Trump decided to be hostile towards Syria, pretty much the entire leftist barrage against him had suddenly stood completely still.
Well, you already know why.
Unanimously, it just stopped.
Well, you know why.
Really, oh yeah, I know why, but that's still interesting.
Yeah. Well, how about for the benefit of our audience, let's let you say what it is.
Oh, it's because of the Illuminati wanting to steal my damn traps.
Well, yes,
and the fact that progressives are and because of the fact that progressives are neocons, they've always been neocons, and they will always be neocons.
And what do neocons want to do?
Oh, and because they want to feed a military-industrial complex and keep a petrodollar alive.
Yep, there we go. And of course,
the Jews just throwing that in there, no reason. It has to be in there.
I think we should at least connect this to the petrodollar more concretely, because right now, Russia is trading with China in the petro-yuan, which is going to devalue the value of the petrodollar, because right now the petrodollar's value is propped up by the fact that it's traded around the world as how petroleum is valued. anything that's
Neocons. I said neocons. Captain Pipsqueak.
neocons, like
Yes, neocons.
Mayo?
Petro Bitcoin.
Petro, Dogecoin.
well, actually, I think that's what Venezuela is trying to do, but
Venezuela.
it's a government program, so it's going to fail.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
like everything in Venezuela.
That is
yeah.
not real socialism.
Well, even though all the land is controlled by workers' councils set up by the government, it's not real socialism, you guys. I
It's
promise.
Venezuela's capitalist because it doesn't meet my absurdly specific definition of socialism.
It is because 80% of the land is still privately owned, even though it's not
That's
privately
not
controlled.
actually true, by the way. That's
That's
an
what Blake said
outdated
in the server
statistic.
one time, or something like that. Like a long time ago. It was in your server, Filthy. Like there was that discussion with like Blake and that other
Yeah,
wanker.
Oh boy.
probably Ash. So the thing about
I know. Oh yeah, he did say something like that. No, I just
yeah,
know he was denying
Hmm.
like a good
Well,
definition. Okay, whatever.
I mean, the definition of socialism is hilarious because it's broad and has so many interpretations. But when you try to pin it on someone's like real socialism, it's like, no,
That's not my fault.
that's not my definition. I mean, like, what about a totalitarian state that calls itself a socialist state because the government basically has total control of the means of production, and
Yep.
the socialist theory does call for the a dictatorship of the proletariat, which implies totalitarianism. So, not real socialism.
Yep.
But you're just saying that's socialism is when the government does stuff. No, that's your definition.
Yep.
Well, it's one of your
And it
definitions.
is socialism.
You have like a billion definitions. Narrow it down, please.
National
Yeah.
socialists aren't real socialists.
Well, that's according to them, yeah.
But then again, we say that crony capitalists aren't capitalist. Like who came up with the term crony capitalist?
I think it was Rothbard actually, maybe. Don't
I
quote me
don't
on
know
that.
about that.
Sometimes I can actually understand why they complain about us when we say national socialists aren't socialists, because then we have crony capitalists and they aren't capitalists.
Well, I mean,
But then again, the difference between the nap socks and socks between
well,
crony caps and actual capitalists is that at least with crony caps, the whole purpose is to create a state society, like a fascistic corporatist society where
corporate.
capitalists are like, yeah, fuck
Well, I
that,
mean, the
fuck
reason
that
we can
shit.
say that corporatism is not capitalism is because it's fascism. And
Yep.
I'm not saying that in the sense like in the SJW sense of, oh, everybody I disagree with is the fascist. No,
No, it's
fascist
the
is the
actual.
control. Fascist is the consolidation of the means of production in the hands of a corporate oligarchy, and
Yep.
that corporate oligarchy controls the government,
Which is basically kind of what our government is in a way.
I mean, that's Italian fascism more specifically,
Fascism is
but
more so a dictatorship of the folk compared to the dictatorship of the proletariat.
I mean, like, yeah, it's what we have today is pretty much quasi-fascist, if not
Yeah,
full-on fascist.
come at us, Bad Mouse
Yeah.
Productions. Oh wait, he doesn't make videos anymore.
Oh, he
Never
doesn't?
mind. Yeah, I thought he made one last video saying he's gonna stop doing videos.
Usually when they do that, they're being sarcastic.
Well, he was
Hmm?
what I consider the human centipede of socialism slash communism. In the same way that Jocelyn Glenn is the asshole of atheism.
He's the human centipede? That's a interesting way to put it.
I, he unironically argues that without the government we wouldn't have roads.
All right, well, to wrap things up, Cody Wilson is a beast. Don't buy the guns because they'll track you.
Do
South
not.
Africa is full of shit, and is not, and is and the original settlers or original inhabitants of South Africa were Dutch, and don't trust anything that neocons say.
If you want to support what are they Defense Distributed and
FK.
Cody Wilson, I'm sure if you look around, I actually don't know if they do, but I'm sure they have like a Patreon page or some PayPal or GoFundMe or something.
Or
Support
somewhere
them
to
there.
give them crypto.
Yeah, especially if you can give them crypto. Do not, I repeat, do not put yourself in a position where a bank can track your transactions.
Yeah.
Because that will be used against you at some point in the future.
Like that's just they will track. They will put you on a watch list and track you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Now, Jack Vanadium pointed out that they do accept donations. So if you do want to support them, do it through there. Do not buy the downloaded guns because that's how they're going to track you.
You know, it's very ironic how Deadmau5 has like a video made 8 years ago called the Invisible Wand commercial, and then here he is now.
The what?
Deadmau5? You mean Bad Mouse?
Yeah, he has a video like from 8 years ago called the Invisible Wand commercial, and then his latest video was 3 months ago. Like his channel is about as it's about as dead as Paul Walker by this point.
Yeah, a lot of comic channels are dying, which is a really damn good thing, I tell you what.
They aren't dying fast enough, I say.
Yeah.
I mean,
nowadays, a lot of naseballs and just anti-foes are taking their place, however.
The Paris Commune, our first revolution. Oh my goodness, the Paris Commune. Didn't that last literally only 3 months?
I don't know.
No, I think it was 2 months actually. Like Hoodie even did a video on that with Triddle Tom. It only lasted a couple months. Like the best example of anarcho-communism only lasted 2 months.
And then there's
Catalonia,
which was just knocked down by a no-brain dictator who just lost his entire power in like 10 years.
I think there's actually a group in Mexico somewhere. I forget what it's called. That's anarcho-communist, and it's actually working somewhat.
Like, what's the
I don't know.
I forget what it's called. Someone's gonna be able to remember what I'm talking about in the comments, I'm sure, but it's
Look
working.
up Freetown Christiania, because I know that's an anarchist society.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
They don't allow guns.
Alright, well, it was a really good stream, and thank you for having me on, gentlemen's. But it appears that we are about out of time.
Yep, thank you for coming on. Everybody
Thank you for coming on, you combs!
If you wanna plug yourselves, now's the chance. Hop through left. So, Azer, you wanna plug yourself?
I don't really know what to say. I just jumped in here.
Okay.
I don't really have anything. Like, I'm an enigma. Like, you have to find out who I am.
Well,
Except you can go to twitch.tv/chaotic, QAOTIK. Give me some followers because I want that internet money.
Yeah, internet money. I want Illuminati hush money already. Give it to me.